Have you ever noticed how two people can go through the exact same situation and react completely differently? One person overthinks everything, replays conversations, analyzes every word. Another person says what they feel in the moment and moves on. One person can explain things so clearly that everyone understands them instantly, while someone else struggles to express even what they know is right. It almost feels like everyone is living in the same world, but thinking through completely different systems. And that's exactly what this is. Your thinking is not random. The way you process information, the way you communicate, the way you make decisions, even the way you misunderstand things, it follows a pattern. And that pattern is shown by Mercury in your birth chart. Mercury is not just about intelligence. It is about how your mind actually works in real life. It shows how you learn, how you interpret situations, how you respond in conversations, and how you solve problems when things get uncomfortable. Before we go further, I want you to do something simple. Open your birth chart and find where Mercury is placed. Look at the house it is sitting in. Now take it one step further. Check the chart of someone close to you. It could be your partner, your best friend, or even someone you constantly have misunderstandings with. Because once you start understanding Mercury, something very interesting happens. You stop taking things personally. You begin to see that people are not difficult. They are just wired differently. And once you see that clearly, your relationships, your communication, and even your self-awareness start changing. Now let's understand how this plays out, starting with Mercury in the first house. Mercury in the first house. When Mercury is placed in the first house, your mind is not just something you use. It becomes something people experience the moment they meet you. There's an immediate sense that you are aware, observant, and mentally present. You are not someone who simply reacts. You notice things, you read situations quickly. You pick up on subtle shifts in tone, energy, and behavior, often without even trying. You could walk into a room where you don't know anyone, and within a few minutes, you would already have a sense of who is comfortable, who is guarded, and how you should present yourself. This ability does not come from overthinking in the moment. It comes from a naturally active and responsive mind. Because of this, communication becomes one of your strongest tools. You usually know how to explain things in a way that makes sense. You can adjust your tone depending on who you are speaking to. Conversations with you tend to feel smooth, engaging, and easy to follow. There's also a certain lightness in your personality. You do not like to make things unnecessarily heavy. Even in situations that could become intense, you often find a way to keep things calm or even slightly humorous. People may describe you as easy to talk to, approachable, or mentally stimulating. At the same time, this constant mental activity has a quieter side that others may not always see. You can spend a lot of time in your own head. You may replay conversations after they are over. You may think about how you came across, what you could have said differently, or how someone else interpreted your words. It is not always visible from the outside, but internally, your mind rarely switches off. In relationships, this can create an interesting dynamic. You may understand everything logically. You can explain your feelings, analyze situations, and break down problems. But sometimes, instead of simply feeling something, you try to understand it first. This can create distance without you realizing it. If Mercury is strong here, you become someone who communicates clearly, adapts easily, and navigates life through intelligence and awareness. If it is weak, overthinking can complicate simple situations, and you may find yourself stuck in your own mental loops. Your growth with this placement comes from learning that not everything needs to be processed through the mind. Some experiences are meant to be lived, not analyzed. If you want this exact mind map that I'm building on screen so you can explore it yourself, I've made it downloadable on my Patreon. You'll find the link in the description and pinned comment. Mercury in the second house. When Mercury moves into the second house, your intelligence becomes closely tied to value. This is not just about money, but about what you consider important, what you choose to hold on to, and how you express yourself in the world. One of the first things you may notice with this placement is the way you speak. Your words tend to have intention behind them. You are not always speaking just to fill silence. You are often speaking to convey something clearly, to influence, or to create an outcome. There is a natural awareness of timing in your communication. You may instinctively know when to speak, what to say, and how much to say. In situations where others hesitate or over-explain, you often find a way to keep things precise and effective. Because of this, your voice can become one of your greatest assets. In practical life, this placement often connects to earning through communication or intellect. You may find yourself drawn to fields where your ability to explain, persuade, or present ideas becomes valuable. This could show up in business, teaching, content creation, consulting, or any role where clarity of thought directly translates into results. But beyond money, there is a deeper pattern here. You think about stability. You think about security. You think about what actually holds value in the long term. Even when making decisions, there is often a quiet calculation happening in the background. You are not just asking, what do I want right now? You are also asking, what makes sense over time? There is also a connection to early development. You may have learned from a young age to observe, to listen, or to understand the importance of words. Your environment may have shaped the way you think about money, communication, or self-worth. At a deeper level, you are not satisfied with surface-level understanding. You want to know how things work. You may find yourself thinking about systems, patterns, and structures behind money, behavior, and decisions. This is what allows you to eventually create value, not just chase it. If Mercury is strong here, you can build stability through your intellect. You can turn ideas into income and communication into opportunity. If it is weak, challenges can show up in the form of impulsive speech, financial inconsistency, or difficulty expressing your true value. Your growth with this placement is about recognizing that your words are not just expressions. They are tools that shape your reality. And the more consciously you use them, the more powerful your life becomes. If you'd like access to this full mind map in a downloadable format, along with some extra layers I've added, you can get it on my Patreon. Link is below. Mercury in the third house. When Mercury is placed in the third house, your mind is not meant to stay still. It is meant to move, to explore, to express, and to constantly engage with the world around you. You are someone who learns best by doing. You might notice that simply reading or listening is not enough for you. The moment you understand something, you feel the urge to try it, to test it, to see how it works in real life. Your mind becomes clearer when it is in motion. There's a natural curiosity within you that does not stay quiet for long. You may find yourself jumping from one idea to another, not because you are distracted, but because you're genuinely interested in understanding many different things. Your mind enjoys variety. Communication becomes a daily activity for you, not something reserved for special moments. You might enjoy texting, sharing ideas, posting content, or simply talking things out with people. Expression is not optional for you. It is necessary. Over time, this creates a very specific strength. You become skill-based. You develop abilities through repetition. Whether it is writing, speaking, editing, storytelling, or even understanding how people think, you improve by doing things again and again. You may not always realize it, but your consistency in expression builds mastery. In real life, this often shows up as someone who is constantly learning new tools, experimenting with different formats, or trying new approaches. You are not afraid to start, even if you are not perfect. But there is an emotional layer to this placement that can feel confusing at times. Because your mind moves quickly, your interest can also shift quickly. You may start something with full excitement, feel deeply engaged in it, and then slowly lose that same intensity once it becomes familiar. This can create a pattern where you have many beginnings, but fewer completions. It is not a lack of capability. It is a matter of direction. If Mercury is strong here, your communication brings opportunities. People notice your voice. Your skills compound over time, and what starts as curiosity turns into expertise. If it is weak, your energy can feel scattered. You may feel busy, constantly doing something, but not always feeling grounded or fulfilled. Your growth lies in choosing where to stay. You already have the ability to start anything. Now you need to develop the ability to continue. If you learn better by seeing and revisiting things, I've shared this entire mind map as a downloadable file on my Patreon. The link is in the description. Mercury in the fourth house. When Mercury is placed in the 4th house, your mind becomes closely connected to your emotional world. You are not someone who can completely separate logic from feeling. Even when you try to think practically, your emotions are always present in the background. You might often find yourself in situations where you know what the logical choice is, but something inside you feels unsettled. It is as if your mind and your heart are having an ongoing conversation, and neither one fully dominates the other. Your environment plays a very important role in how you think. When you feel safe, comfortable, and emotionally secure, your mind becomes clear. You are able to process information well, make thoughtful decisions, and communicate in a grounded way. But when your environment feels unstable or emotionally heavy, your thinking can become clouded. This is why comfort matters to you. You are not just looking for success or achievement. You are looking for a sense of inner stability. You want a space where you can relax, where your mind can settle, where you don't feel constantly pressured. There's also a tendency to personalize decisions. Instead of asking only what makes sense logically, you often ask what feels right for you. This can be a strength when balanced because it keeps you connected to your inner needs. But when it becomes dominant, it can lead to choices based more on temporary emotions than long-term clarity. In terms of learning and career, something interesting often appears. You may not always enjoy traditional education systems. Sitting in structured environments and absorbing information in a rigid format may not excite you. But when it comes to applying knowledge in real life, you perform much better. You learn through experience. You understand things when you can connect them to real situations, not just theory. If Mercury is strong here, you develop the ability to balance emotion and logic. You can feel deeply, but still make clear decisions. If it is weak, emotional influence can take over your thinking. You may feel confused, unsure, or dissatisfied with your direction. Your growth lies in creating stability within yourself. Because when your inner environment is calm, your mind becomes one of your greatest strengths. If you want to sit with this mind map and go through it at your own pace, I've made a downloadable version available on my Patreon. Check the pinned comment. Mercury in the 5th house. When Mercury is placed in the 5th house, your intelligence expresses itself through creativity, pattern recognition, and anticipation. You're not just reacting to life as it happens. You are constantly thinking ahead, trying to understand what comes next. You may notice this about yourself in subtle ways. You observe people, situations, and trends, and without even trying too hard, you begin to form conclusions. It is not random guessing. It is your mind connecting patterns over time. You see how things unfold, and because of that, you often have a sense of where things are going. This gives you a natural advantage in areas where timing and prediction matter. Whether it is making decisions, planning something important, or even understanding how people will respond, your mind works a few steps ahead. There's also a strong creative element here, but your creativity is not chaotic. It is structured. You do not just create for the sake of expression. You think about impact. You think about how something will be received. You think about whether it will work. In real life, this can show up as someone who is good at planning content, understanding audience behavior, or making calculated decisions that others may not immediately see. You are able to combine logic with imagination, and that creates something powerful. At a deeper level, there is a desire within you to create something meaningful. You do not want to simply follow what already exists. You want to contribute something of your own. You want your ideas, your work, or your thinking to leave an impression. But this same ability to think ahead can sometimes slow you down. Because you can see multiple outcomes, you may hesitate. You may overanalyze whether something will work or not. You may wait for the right moment, the perfect timing, or complete clarity before taking action. And in that waiting, opportunities can pass. If Mercury is strong here, your ability to predict, plan, and create becomes your strength. You make smart decisions, and over time, people begin to trust your judgment. If it is weak, overthinking can create blocks. You may have great ideas, but struggle to act on them consistently. Your growth lies in trusting your own thinking enough to move forward. You already see what others don't. Now you need to act on it. If you want the complete version of this mind map that you can zoom into and study properly, it's available on my Patreon along with some bonus insights. Link is below. Mercury in the 6th house. When Mercury is placed in the 6th house, your mind is naturally drawn toward problems, challenges, and situations that require solutions. You are not someone who avoids difficulty. In fact, when something goes wrong, your mind becomes more active. You begin to analyze what happened, why it happened, and what can be done to fix it. This process happens almost automatically. Where others may feel overwhelmed, you start breaking things down into smaller parts so that they can be understood and handled. This makes you very effective in situations that require logic and clarity under pressure. In your daily life, you may find that you are often the one who steps in when something needs to be solved. Whether it is a misunderstanding, a mistake, or a complicated situation, you feel a natural pull toward figuring it out. There is also a strong ability to think critically. You can see flaws in arguments, identify weak points, and explain your reasoning clearly. This can make you very good in environments where discussion, debate, or problem solving is required. You are able to defend your point and also understand the other side. But there is an emotional side to this placement that is not always obvious. Because your mind is always looking for what needs to be fixed, it can be difficult for you to relax. Even when things are going well, you may still feel like something is incomplete or needs attention. Your mind stays active, scanning for issues, even when there are none. Over time, this can create mental pressure. You may become overly critical of yourself or others. You may feel mentally tired without fully understanding why. It is not because you are weak. It is because your mind is constantly engaged in problem-solving mode. There's also a connection to how your body responds to stress. When your mind is overloaded, it can affect your physical state. You may notice tension, restlessness, or difficulty switching off mentally. If Mercury is strong here, you become someone who can handle complexity with ease. You solve problems efficiently and bring clarity where others feel stuck. If it is weak, small issues can feel overwhelming, and decision-making can become confusing. Your growth lies in learning that not every problem needs your attention. Some things are meant to be solved, and some things are meant to be left alone. If you'd like to break this down step by step on your own, I've uploaded the full downloadable mind map on my Patreon. You can access it through the link in the description. Mercury in the 7th house. When Mercury is placed in the 7th house, your mind enters the space of relationships. This is where things become interesting, because now your intelligence is no longer just about you. It is constantly interacting with another person. You are naturally drawn toward people who are mentally stimulating. You may notice that you feel most attracted to individuals who can hold a conversation, who can challenge your thinking, or who can match your intellectual pace. For you, connection is not just emotional or physical. It is deeply mental. At the beginning, this feels exciting. Conversations flow easily. There is curiosity, exchange of ideas, and a sense that you are learning through the other person. But over time, something subtle begins to happen. You start thinking about the relationship too much. You analyze conversations, intentions, reactions, and patterns. You may find yourself trying to understand everything logically. Why did they say this? What did they mean? What should be the correct response? What is the right way to handle this situation? Without realizing it, the relationship slowly shifts from being an experience to being something you are trying to figure out. This creates a certain distance, because relationships are not built only on understanding. They are built on presence, trust, and emotional flow. When everything is processed through the mind, that flow gets interrupted. You may also struggle with letting go of control. There is a tendency to want clarity in everything. You want to define things, fix things, improve things. But in doing so, you may not always allow the relationship to unfold naturally. At the same time, this placement is very strong for partnerships in business or work. Your ability to communicate, negotiate, and understand the other person's perspective can create powerful collaborations. If Mercury is strong here, you can build relationships that are intelligent, communicative, and growth-oriented. You can solve problems together and evolve through understanding. If it is weak, Overthinking can slowly weaken emotional connection. You may feel like you are doing everything right, but something still feels off. Your growth lies in allowing space. Not everything needs to be discussed, defined, or solved. Sometimes connection grows when you stop trying to understand it completely. If you want to actually use this mind map for your own chart or relationships, I've made a downloadable version available on my Patreon. Link is in the pinned comment. Mercury in the 8th house. When Mercury is placed in the 8th house, your mind is drawn toward depth. You are not satisfied with surface level explanations. When something happens, you don't just accept it as it is. You want to know what is behind it, what is hidden, what is not being said. You may find yourself naturally picking up on things that others miss, small shifts in behavior, inconsistencies in words, underlying motives. It is not something you consciously try to do. It happens automatically. This gives you a kind of quiet intensity. You observe deeply. And once you start thinking about something, you go all the way into it. You are not afraid of complexity. In fact, you are comfortable in it. This placement is very strong for research. You may feel drawn to subjects that require investigation, analysis, and continuous learning. Whether it is psychology, finance, strategy, or any field that involves uncovering hidden patterns, your mind thrives in those environments. There is also a strong intuitive layer here. You may sometimes understand things without being able to explain exactly how. It is as if your mind is processing information beneath the surface and bringing you conclusions that feel accurate. But this depth also comes with emotional intensity. You may find it difficult to let go of certain thoughts. Once something enters your mind, it can stay there. You may replay situations, dig deeper into them, and sometimes create scenarios that increase your anxiety. Trust can also become a complex theme. Because you see so much beneath the surface, you may struggle to take things at face value. This can make you cautious and sometimes even guarded. If Mercury is strong, this placement gives you powerful insight. You can understand complex systems, read people deeply, and transform situations through knowledge. If it is weak, the same depth can turn into overthinking and mental exhaustion. Your growth lies in balance. Not everything needs to be uncovered. Sometimes peace comes from choosing not to go deeper. If you want to go deeper into this and study the full structure, I've shared the complete mind map as a downloadable resource on my Patreon. Check below. Mercury in the 9th house. When Mercury is placed in the 9th house, your mind becomes a seeker. You're not satisfied with simple answers. You question things. You want to understand the bigger picture, the meaning behind ideas, the logic behind beliefs. You may have noticed that you cannot blindly accept something just because it is told to you. Even if something sounds convincing, a part of you still asks, does this actually make sense? This questioning nature is your strength. You are not here to follow someone else's thinking. You are here to develop your own. There is a natural curiosity about different perspectives. You may feel drawn toward learning about different cultures, philosophies, or ways of life. You enjoy expanding your understanding, not just collecting information, but actually making sense of it. Over time, this creates a very independent way of thinking. You begin to form your own beliefs, not based on pressure, but based on what you have explored and understood. But this process is not always smooth. Because you question so much, you may also experience phases of doubt. You may feel unsure about what to believe or where you truly stand. At times, you may reject ideas quickly, only to revisit them later from a different perspective. There's also a strong connection to asking the right questions. You may notice that your strength is not always in having answers, but in asking questions that make others think. You bring clarity not by explaining everything, but by shifting the way people look at things. If Mercury is strong, this placement creates a powerful thinker. You develop clarity over time, and your perspective becomes valuable to others. If it is weak, confusion can dominate. You may keep searching without feeling grounded in any direction. Your growth lies in commitment. At some point, after questioning everything, you have to choose a path and walk it. If you'd like to explore this entire system visually and in detail, The downloadable mind map is available on my Patreon. You'll find the link in the description. Mercury in the 10th house. When Mercury is placed in the 10th house, your mind becomes visible in your work and public life. You are someone who naturally brings communication into your career. Whether you realize it or not, your ability to think, explain, and connect ideas becomes a key part of what you do. You may find yourself in roles where you are constantly interacting with people, solving problems, or managing situations. You are able to see both sides of a situation and find a way to bring clarity. This makes you effective in environments where coordination is required. You understand how to handle conversations, how to present ideas, and how to navigate professional dynamics. You may not always be the loudest person in the room, but your input often carries weight because it is thoughtful and structured. There is also a strong connection between learning and working. You do not separate the two. Your work becomes a place where you continue to learn, grow, and refine your thinking. You may find that you enjoy roles where you are constantly exposed to new information or challenges. At the same time, you may feel a desire to do something meaningful through your work. Not just to earn, but to create something that reflects your intelligence. You may think about how your work impacts others, how it contributes, and how it can be improved. If Mercury is strong, your career grows through your intellect. You are recognized for your communication, your clarity, and your ability to handle complex situations. If it is weak, confusion can show up in your professional direction. You may feel unsure about what path to take or struggle with expressing yourself in important moments. Your growth lies in application. You already understand a lot. Now you need to consistently apply what you know in the real world. If you want to apply this practically, having the mind map with you really helps. I've made it downloadable on my Patreon. Link is below. Mercury in the 11th house. When Mercury is placed in the 11th house, your mind expands through people. You're naturally connected to networks, communities, and social circles. You may find that you know a wide range of people, and you are comfortable interacting in group environments. There is a certain ease in how you connect. You understand how to communicate within a group, how to share ideas, and how to stay relevant in conversations. This makes you someone who can build connections over time without forcing them. Your opportunities often come through people. Conversations, introductions, collaborations, and shared ideas become pathways for growth. You may notice that when you are actively engaging with others, things start moving in your life. There's also a creative element here. You are not just connecting with people, you are exchanging ideas. You may come up with new approaches, new ways of doing things, or new ways of expressing something that already exists. Your thinking becomes more expansive when you are around others. At the same time, there is a pattern in how you approach desires. You may not follow traditional paths. When it comes to goals, relationships, or creative expression, you prefer doing things in your own way. You are open to experimenting, changing direction, and trying something different. But this also brings a challenge. Not every connection is meaningful. You may have access to many people, but not all of them contribute equally to your growth. This can sometimes create distraction or a lack of depth. If Mercury is strong, your network becomes your strength. You build valuable connections and turn ideas into opportunities. If it is weak, you may feel socially active, but internally disconnected or unfocused. Your growth lies in choosing your circle carefully, because the people around you shape the direction of your mind. If you want access to the full expanded version of this mind map that I'm using in the video, you can download it from my Patreon. Link is in the description. Mercury in the 12th house. When Mercury is placed in the 12th house, your mind turns inward. You think deeply, but much of that thinking happens privately. You may not always express everything you process, but internally, there is a constant flow of thoughts. You may find yourself replaying situations, reflecting on conversations, or imagining different outcomes. Your mind does not always stay in the present moment. It moves between past, present, and future with ease. This can make you highly introspective. You understand yourself in ways that others may not. You are aware of your patterns, your thoughts, and your internal responses. But at the same time, this depth can sometimes feel overwhelming. You may struggle with clarity. At times, it may feel like your thoughts are too scattered or too layered. You may know that something is there, but putting it into clear words becomes difficult. There is also a connection to isolation. You may need time alone to process things. Being constantly around people can feel mentally exhausting. Your mind resets when you step back from external noise. At the same time, this placement can connect you to global or distant environments. You may find opportunities in foreign settings, different cultures, or work that is not limited by physical boundaries. Financially, there can be a mix of gain and expense. You may earn through unconventional paths, but you may also need to manage how your resources are used. If Mercury is strong, this placement gives deep insight and the ability to think beyond the obvious. You can understand complex internal and external patterns. If it is weak, confusion, overthinking, and mental fatigue can become dominant. Your growth lies in structure. Your mind is powerful, but it needs direction. Without it, it drifts. If you want to revisit this and fully absorb it at your own pace, I've uploaded the complete downloadable mind map on my Patreon. Check the pinned comment. That's Mercury in all 12 houses. Now you see it. Your thinking is not random. The way you communicate, the way you process situations, the way you react to people, it all follows a structure. And once you understand that structure, something changes. You stop asking, why am I like this? And you start understanding, this is how I operate. Now, it's your turn. Comment below and tell me, which house is Mercury placed in your birth chart? Go back to your chart. Look at your Mercury placement again. Then look at the people around you. Notice how differently they think. Notice how differently they respond. Notice how what frustrates you about them is often just a difference in mental wiring. And when you truly understand that, you don't just understand astrology, you understand people. I hope this video helped you gain a deeper understanding of yourself. If you enjoyed it, subscribe, and I'll see you soon with another eye-opening video.